Hi guys, it's Chill, welcome back. This is the final part of What If Naruto Was the Son of the Sea. Hope you all enjoy. Chapter 3. After the little incident concerning the As cabin, people started whispering to each other about Naruto. Of course, Naruto ignored it. Him and Annabeth passed a rock wall that had lava spewing out of it. Naruto definitely wanted to do some training on that when he got a chance. Then there was the arts and crafts room, where satyrs were sandblasting a giant marble statue of a goat man, which Naruto guessed might be Pan, god of the wild, satyrs, and folk music, and the metal shop, where kids were forging their own swords. Later on, they passed the canoeing lake they saw earlier. Annabeth stopped and said flatly, "I've got training to do. Dinner's always at 7:30. Just follow your cabin to the mess hall. You'll need to talk to the Oracle at some point." Naruto hummed, not really interested in knowing more at the moment, because he didn't what the Oracle was. Two teenage girls were sitting cross-legged at the base of the pier, 20 feet below. They wore blue jeans and shimmering green t-shirts. Their brown hair floated loose around their shoulders as minnows darted in and out. They waved, like they knew him. Naruto just waved back in a friendly manner. "Don't encourage them," Annabeth warned. "Naiads are terrible flirts. A certain blue dwarf I know wouldn't mind. His gemaphobe brother, on the other hand." Naruto trailed off in thought of one of his blacksmith teachers. "They aren't so bad," Naruto said to her as he looked at her. "The couple that live in Central Park were quite nice to me. Of course, I was 11 when I first met them and maybe things have changed since then, but the point is, a little flirting isn't so bad. Don't you think?" Annabeth did privately agree with him, especially since they were developing something between them. "Anyway," Annabeth said, "the point is, the borders are sealed to keep normal mortals and monsters out. From the outside, mortals look into the valley and see nothing unusual, just a strawberry farm. So, I take it you're a year-rounder?" Naruto asked. Annabeth nodded. She pulled a leather necklace with 9 clay beads of different colors. It was just like Luke's, except Annabeth's also had a big gold ring strung on it, like a college ring. "I've been here since I was 7, she said. "Every August, on the last day of summer session, you get a bead for surviving another year. I've been here longer than most counselors, and they're all in college." Naruto nodded and looked at the entrance to the camp. "So, I could just walk out of here right now if I wanted to. It would be suicide, but you could, with Mr. DS or Chiron's permission. But they wouldn't give permission until the end of the summer session unless..." "Unless?" he asked. "You were granted a quest. But that hardly ever happens. The last time..." Her voice trailed off. It didn't take a genius to realize that last time hadn't gone well. So Naruto said, switching the subject yet again, "What's happening during the summer solstice?" Annabeth's shoulders tensed. "So, you do know something?" "Well, that depends," Naruto said as they moved into the forest so no one could eavesdrop, subtly looked around to make sure no one was around, before speaking to her in a lower voice. "Has anyone told you what's happening?" She clenched her fists as she leaned against a tree. "I wish I knew. Chiron and the satyrs, they seem to know something, but they won't tell anyone. Something is wrong in Olympus, something pretty major. Last time I was there, everything seemed so normal." "You've been to Olympus?" Naruto asked, surprised. "Some of us year-rounders, Luke and Clarice and I and a few others, we took a field trip during the winter solstice 3 weeks ago. That's when the gods have their big annual council. How did you get there? Naruto wondered. The Long Island Railroad, of course. You get off at Penn Station. Empire State Building, special elevator to the 600th floor. She looked at him like he already knew about it. You are a New Yorker, right? Sure, Naruto said sarcastically, teasing her a bit. Because I've totally seen a magical palace for the gods floating above me 1,000 feet up every day on my morning run. She blushed, just remembering that he was still new to some of this. Sorry. Right after we visited, the weather got weird, as if the gods had started fighting. A couple of times since, I've overheard satyrs talking. The best I can figure out is that something important was stolen. And if it isn't returned by the summer solstice, there's going to be trouble. When you came along, I was hoping. I mean, Athena can get along with just about anybody, except for us. And there's the rivalry she has with Poseidon. But, I mean, aside from that, I thought we could work together. I thought you might know something. We can, Naruto said as he moved closer to her, getting in her personal space, and whispered to her in her ear, the Master Bolt has apparently been stolen. What? Annabeth asked, shocked that he was telling her that. How do you? One of the Furies came after me and accused me of stealing it. Naruto whispered to her, his breath hot on her ear. Alecto died easily enough. But someone stole Zeus's little nuclear glow stick and is likely framing me. My thoughts are on either Hades, or someone with a grudge against Zeus and Poseidon. So, I'd say, we can definitely work together. Naruto said as Annabeth tried super hard to contain her blush. She was much more confident than she was the first time she liked a guy, but, damn. This guy was getting up in her personal space, teasing her while dropping a huge bombshell about what happened on the winter solstice. Yet she could barely focus as she took in his handsome face, his steel-hard muscles that she could see straining against his shirt. She briefly wondered how his lips might taste on hers or how. Stop, bad girl. Annabeth thought to herself as she regained her bearings enough to get control of herself. You just met this guy. Give it a little more time before you go there. She definitely liked him and she was sure he liked her back, but she wanted a little more time before she and he got together. I'll see you later, Annabeth said, as she slipped away from him, but not before Naruto caught her smile as she walked away. Cabin 11. Back at Cabin 11, everybody was talking and messing around, waiting for dinner. Naruto noticed that a lot of the Hermes kids had similar features. Sharp noses, upturned eyebrows, mischievous smiles. They seemed to be the pranksters of the cabin, or the camp. Naruto found himself amused, because of how he used to prank in his first life, but he didn't do that anymore in this life. He had outgrown that, though he reminisced on old times, like defacing the Hokage monument or pranking Sarutobi with the sexy jutsu, as he sat in the corner, drawing up schematics for something he was planning to make. The counselor, Luke, came over. He had the Hermes resemblance, too. It was marred by the scar on his right cheek, but his smile was intact. Naruto still didn't trust him, as he closed his journal, the blood privacy seal on it activated, so if anyone but him looked at it, they would find nothing but blank pages. Found you a sleeping bag, he said. And here, I stole you some toiletries from the camp store. Thanks. Naruto said neutrally, his senses still warning him this guy was dangerous and should not be trusted. No prob. Luke sat next to them, pushing his back against the wall. Tough first day. Naruto shrugged. Nothing I can't handle, but part of me doesn't feel like I belong here. Probably the part of him that was used to being on his own. Yeah, Luke said. That's how it always starts. Once you start believing in them, it doesn't get any easier. That how it was with your dad? Naruto asked. Luke pulled out a switchblade out of his pocket. For a second Naruto thought he was going make a stab at him, but he just scraped some mud off the sole of his shoe. Yeah. Hermes. Naruto noted, clearly a touchy subject, since Naruto could sense the anger and hatred coming from Luke. So, what's the deal with Annabeth and Clarice? They bitter rivals or something? Naruto asked and Luke seemed amused. So, you picked up on that? Yeah, those two have always been at each other's throats. It used to just be they didn't like each other, cause their parents don't get along, but then 2 years ago, there was this guy they both liked, and let's just say, it didn't end well. Luke said. What? He didn't die or anything, surely? Naruto asked. No, but he ended up not being able to put up with the two girls fighting over him and chose someone else. Their rivalry has been worse ever since they blame each other for losing their crush to someone else. Now come on, it's dinner time. As soon as he said that, a horn blew in the distance. Luke yelled, 11, fall in. The whole cabin, about 20 or so of kids, filed into the commons yard. They lined up in order of seniority, so of course Naruto was last. Campers from other cabins came too, except the 3 empty cabins at the end and cabin 8, which now glowed silver as the sun went down. They marched up the hill to the mess hall pavilion. Satyrs joined the group from the meadows. Naiads emerged from the canoeing lake. A few other girls came out of the woods, literally. In all, there were maybe 100 campers, a few dozen satyrs, and a dozen assorted wood nymphs and naiads. At the pavilion, torches blazed around the marble columns. A central fire burned in the bronze brazier. Each cabin had its own table, covered in white cloth trimmed in purple. 4 of the tables were empty, but cabin 11's was way overcrowded. He saw Grover sitting at table 12 with Mr. D, a few satyrs, and a couple of plump blonde boys who looked just like Dionysius. Chiron stood to one side, the picnic table being too small for him. Annabeth sat at table 6 with a bunch of serious-looking athletic kids, all with grey eyes and blonde hair. Clarice sat behind him at R's table. Finally, Chiron pounded his hoof against the marble floor of the pavilion, and everyone went silent. He raised a glass. To the gods. Everybody raised their glasses. To the gods. Wood nymphs came forward with platters of food, grapes, apples, strawberries, cheese, bread, and barbecue. Naruto's glass was empty, but Luke said, "Speak to it." "Whatever you want, non-alcoholic of course." Sighing, as he left his stash back at his apartment, Naruto said, "Pepsi." Sure enough, the liquid filled his glass. He took a sip, annoyed because he was planning to have alcohol tonight. Then some food was given to him. Naruto was about to dig in, but Luke said, "Come on." His stomach needed good food, right now. He followed him to the fire and saw people throwing in a good portion of their food in it. This made Naruto wonder why you would throw away good food. "Burnt offerings for the gods," Luke explained. "They like the smell." Naruto looked puzzled. Why would an immortal, all-powerful being love the smell of burnt food? Naruto asked. Luke approached the fire without answering him, bowed his head, and tossed in a cluster of fat red grapes. Hermes. When it was Naruto's turn, Naruto just picked the names of gods he liked in particular. Demeter, Hestia, Persephone, Poseidon, Cymopolea, Rhode, Amphitrite, Chion, he muttered. In order: his grandmother, the patron of the hearth, his father, his immortal half-sisters, his stepmom, and the goddess who was associated with his favorite season. He threw a very small piece of his barbecue after saying each name, which filled the air with a different smell. For Demeter and Persephone, the smell of freshly harvested corn, wheat, and soybeans filled the air. For Hestia, the smell of many different delicious foods filled the air. For his father, stepmother, and half-sisters, the salt could practically be tasted in the air, and when he gave honor to Chion, a chill could be felt in the air. People raised their eyebrows at all the gods he named, but Naruto left before anyone could ask any questions. After that, both boys ate quickly. Naruto learned that they even made pizza here, another one of his favorite foods. Even better, it seemed never-ending here. Naruto was quickly learning to love this place. Naruto also saw table 10, which was completely pink. Sitting there were tons of boys and girls, all good-looking and beautiful. His attention, however, was on Salna, who was chatting with some of her siblings. She saw him, smiled and waved. He waved back. Her siblings saw this and burst into giggles and chatter. Chiron pounded his hoof for attention. Mr. D got up with a huge sigh. Yes, I suppose I'd better say hello to all you brats. Well, hello. Our activity director, Chiron, says that Capture the Flag is this Friday. Cabin 5 presently holds the laurels. A bunch of ugly cheering rose from the R's table. Personally, Mr. D muttered. I couldn't care less, but congratulations. Also, I should tell you that we have a new camper today. Nate Ulgaff. Naruto glared at him for getting his name wrong. On purpose. Chiron muttered something. Naruto Uzumaki. Mr. D corrected. That's right. Hurrah, and all that. Now run along to your silly campfire. Go on. Everybody cheered. They all headed down to the amphitheater, where Apollo's cabin led a sing-along. They sang camp songs about the gods and ate s'mores and joked. Time skip. Naruto entered the forge during the next morning. He had not been able to use a decent forge in 3 years and needs to refresh his skills. He woke up early, so no one was in the forge when he went in. He first started with steel, reforging a few kunai and shuriken that he had lost over the years. Then he started pulling out the celestial bronze, as he made a whole new set of kunai and shuriken. He was getting started on another when he heard a noise. Hey there, you're up early. Came the voice of large African-American man behind him. Naruto turned around to see the guy addressing him with a friendly. Yeah, I had a lot of forging to do, wanted to get some of it done today before anyone else got here. Naruto said. Charles Beckendorf. The guy held out his hand for Naruto and they shook hands. Right, Hep Hestus Kid, Naruto said as they shook. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. You work a lot in forges? Charles asked as he quickly glanced over Naruto's forge work with the kunai and shuriken he had and found it to be very good. Quite a bit. When I lived in Norway for a few years. Was taught by a couple brothers that know the trade well. Naruto answered as that was where he ended up after he came out of Challenger's Deep after his mom died. Hey man, since you're here, I could use your help with my weapons. Naruto said. Sure, I'd be happy to help, but are you sure you want to make your own? We have a whole selection of guns, bows and arrows in the armory. Charles pointed out. I know, but I've always worked best with knives and shuriken. Naruto said as he and Charles got started on making more kunai knives. Few hours later, the first activity Naruto had was sword and shield class, and it was taught by Clarice. She took this well and decided to prove herself against him. "Think you can win, Uzumaki?" asked Clarice as they circled each other, with their audience watching silently. "Can't say as I'm the most skilled with a sword," Naruto said, judging her reaction. Clarice got a cocky smirk on her face and swung her blade to the side, hoping to catch him off guard. He just blocked it with a reversed blade, smirking. "I didn't say I've never used them, I just don't have any formal training in the Greek style." "Still, don't expect to last too long then, fish cake," she teased him, hoping to use that to unbalance him. It worked. "My name does not mean," Naruto argued back, as he got annoyed when people mispronounced his name or got the wrong meaning, only to get shield bashed in the face. "Ah, idiot. I've got to stop doing that. This is becoming an issue for me." Naruto cursed at himself as he ducked under a sword strike and blocked another as he came back to his feet. Naruto blocked several slashes from Clarice before she locked her sword with his and used her skill to twist out of his grip, and then bashed Naruto in the jaw with the shield. Naruto stumbled away, more due to the unexpected nature of the attack, and not because it actually hurt him. "Now I'm starting to get annoyed," Naruto thought in anger, and he decided to stop holding back as much. He rushed up and punched her shield, causing a loud sound to reverberate through the camp as he grabbed the shield and twisted it with Clarice's arm still attached, causing her to spin around in the air. She managed to land on her feet. Naruto pulled the shield out of her grip and slipped it onto his own arm before he used it to block a kick from her and punched her in the gut, knocking her 3 yards back. Clarice got back up with an excited look in her eyes as she ran at him. Naruto threw the shield in a straight line, with Clarice forward rolling to the ground to avoid it, causing the shield to embed itself deeply into the trunk of a tree. Clarice leapt up and kneed him in the chest, causing him to stumble backwards a bit. She then threw a right hook, but Naruto blocked it and jabbed her in the face. He threw a hook of his own, but Clarice was an expert in hand-to-hand, and blocked the attack, before using a wrestling maneuver to throw Naruto to the ground. Naruto kicked her legs out from under her and she fell on her back. The next thing she knew was that he was on top of her waist, holding each of her wrists with each hand. "Now that is called improvising," he said into her ear, making her shudder, but she did not get to enjoy it much because he got off of her and offered her a hand to get back up. She gratefully took it and walked away silently. No one saw the blush on her face as they were all asking if Naruto could spar with them. That afternoon. At other times, Naruto went to the stables to hang out with Salna, or learn Pegasi riding. Today he stood in the stables with her as he watched her demonstrate how to put a saddle on the back of a Pegasus. She'd been showing him for the last 10 minutes. The Pegasi seemed to like him, allowing him to ride them no problem. Salna recalled that no one became friendly with the Pegasi that quickly, not even her. Naruto simply replied that horses seemed to like him, though he privately guessed that it had to do with Poseidon being his dad, and Poseidon being the creator of horses. Then he and Salna led 2 Pegasi out of the stables. She was riding a white horse, while Naruto was riding a beautiful brown horse with chestnut brown eyes named Porkpie. Naruto was about to steer Porkpie along when he heard a voice in his head, saying, "Stupid boy. Probably try and fall flat on his face, riding a majestic steed like me." Turning to the only possible suspect, he peered down at Porkpie. "I can hear you, Naruto said to the horse. Salna looked at him oddly. Naruto, you okay? She asked, concerned. Naruto ignored her and continued looking at the Pegasus expectantly. He knew that he probably looked crazy right now, but he didn't care. After a moment, he heard the voice in his head again, this time shocked. Why, you can understand me, the horse asked, neighing instead of speaking. Naruto continued ignoring the stare Salna was giving him and replied back, yeah, I can hear. He said with relief. A child of my lord. The Pegasus responded, shocked. Yep, that's him, Naruto acknowledged. Naruto. Naruto. Salna snapped her fingers in front of his face, breaking him out of his thoughts. She pouted. I've been calling you for 2 minutes. What was wrong? Naruto rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Nothing, he said, filing his thoughts away for later. Come on. Let's go riding. Night time. At night, Naruto snuck out into the forest to do some extra training. He put his hands in the familiar cross shape and made himself 1,000 shadow clones. All right, I want a quarter of you working on chakra control, another a quarter to practice the forms in those Greek scrolls we found on sword fighting. Another a quarter works on elemental ninjutsu. Last one's of you, taijutsu. Now get to work. He obeyed him and set about their tasks. Naruto meanwhile walked onto the water and closed his eyes and concentrated his chakra before going through a set of 10 hand seals and said, Ninja art, inner darkness jutsu. Reality seemed to shift around him as a shadow-covered form appeared a few from him on the water, until it took shape and looked like Naruto, except for the black sclera and red eyes. Hey, me, the dark lookalike said. Hello, Yami, Naruto said. You looking to get your ass kicked? Yami said as he took a fighting stance. Why else would I bring you out? Naruto retorted as he and Yami rushed at each other, beginning a long spar, since they were the same person and neither of them could physically overcome the other. Time skip. Naruto was walking towards the camp store. As he was walking, he saw the Still brothers, 2 sons of Hermes who happened to be identical to each other, harassing a girl with warm brown eyes and long black hair. The Still brothers, Connor and Travis, were stealing from the camp store, with the girl yelling at them, trying to shoo them away. Feeling pity on the girl, and knowing how much of a hassle the Stills could be, he marched up, yelling, Hey, doofuses, go bug someone else. The Stills looked up, grinning when they saw Naruto coming towards them. Why hello, Naruto, Connor, or Travis, said happily, still looting the camp store. How may we help you today? Yes, Naruto, the other boy, who Naruto assumed was Travis, replied. How are you on this fine day? Peachy, Naruto said dryly. Now can you leave the poor girl alone? We wouldn't want someone to get pranked later on, now would we? Naruto asked. Both boys grinned challengingly. Ooh, we have a prankster on our hands. Connor asked gleefully. Possibly, Naruto replied. But let's deal with that later on. Fine, Travis sighed dramatically. But we'll hold you to that promise, all right? Yeah. Now beat it. Naruto grumbled, probably going to have to deal with this later. Thankfully both boys left, probably to prank some unfortunate victim, leaving Naruto alone with the girl. You okay? Naruto asked. The girl scowled, then sighed. Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for helping me. No problem. I know how much of a pain those 2 can be. You have no idea. The girl scowled cutely. They do this all the time. And they never stop. Well, I'm about to suffer for defending you later. So you're welcome. Naruto said, not looking forward to have to watch out for pranks. Thanks. The girl reached out, offering to shake my hand. I'm Katie Gardiner. Name's Naruto. He shook her hand in return, feeling how rough it was. So, Katie, Naruto said, wanting to start a conversation. Who's your godly parent? She smiled, as if it were obvious as to who it was. Demeter, goddess of agriculture. Naruto couldn't stop himself from saying, well, guess that explains the name. Thankfully Katie didn't look offended. Instead she giggled. Well, I guess that also explains it. Naruto was just thankful that she wasn't angry. Naruto ultimately forgot the reason he had come to the store in the first place in favor of talking with his cousin. Time skip. It was now the day of the capture the flag game. Naruto had asked Katie if the As and Athena cabins were always on opposite sides, and Katie said most of the time. The teams were announced. Athena had made an alliance with Apollo and Hermes, the two biggest and well-rounded cabins. Apparently, privileges had been traded, shower times, chore schedules, and the best slots for activities in order to win support. As had allied themselves with everybody else, Dionysius, Demeter, Aphrodite and Hephaestus. From what he'd seen, Dionysius' kids were actually good athletes, but there were only two of them. Demeter's kids, like Katie, had the edge with nature skills and all things planting, but they weren't very aggressive like he was. From Aphrodite, they mostly sat out every activity and checked their reflections in the lake, did their hair and gossiped. Hell, Silna was the only one he saw right now that was actually ready. When she saw him, she winked. Naruto thankfully didn't blush, and waved in response. Charles and the rest of Hephaestus' kids were rough-looking. They were big and burly from working in the metal shop all day, but again, not that many of them. That left As' cabin, which made up the majority of the team. Chiron hammered his hoof on the marble. Heroes, he announced. You know the rules. The creek is the boundary line. The entire forest is fair game. All magic items are allowed. The banner must be prominently displayed, and have no more than 2 guards. Prisoners may be disarmed, but may not be bound or gagged. No killing or maiming is allowed. I will serve as referee and battlefield medic. Arm yourselves. He spread his hands, and the tables were suddenly covered with equipment, helmets, bronze swords, spears, and ox-hide shields coated in metal. Naruto chose not to wear any armor. Annabeth yelled, "Blue team, forward!" Blue team cheered and shook their swords and followed her down the path to the south woods. The red team yelled taunts at them as they headed off towards the north. Naruto caught up with Annabeth, so Naruto said to her, "What's the plan? I'm a little out of the loop here." "Just watch Clarice's spear," she said. "You don't want that thing touching you. Otherwise, don't worry. We'll take the banner from us." "Has Luke given you your job?" "Border Patrol, sadly." Naruto was annoyed. "Don't worry, it's easy. Stand by the creek, keep the Reds away. Leave the rest to us. Athena always has a plan." 10 minutes later. Naruto was getting a little annoyed at how long it was taking for someone to come after him. He was about to sub with a shadow clone, but then he heard a twig snap behind him. "Well, looky what we got here." One voice came from the 4 voices that Naruto heard. Naruto widened his eyes when he sensed what they were. "A demigod, all by his lonesome," Ma said another as the 4 Cyclops came out of the bushes for Naruto to see. Rage quickly filled him as he looked at the monsters. Their species had been partially responsible for his mother's death. The Cyclopes didn't seem to notice his growing rage as they kept talking. "We eat good tonight, Pa," one of the younger Cyclopes said. Naruto had enough and pulled out 4 of the kunai he had made with Charles and threw them at the Cyclopes, enhancing them with wind chakra. His aim was true, as each kunai pierced through both the eye and brains of each Cyclopes, causing them to explode in gold dust. Unfortunately, as he was about to ponder how they got inside the barrier, the Ars cabin and Clarice arrived behind him just as the Cyclopes fully disintegrated. He turned to face them. "The flag over there, Fie," Naruto told them as he stuck his thumb behind him. "Yeah," one of her siblings said. "But see, we don't care about the flag. We care about a guy who made our cabin look stupid. You dipshits do that well enough without my help," Naruto pointed out, pulling his mother's coppice out. "Shit," one of the Ars kids said. "Charge!" 2 Ars kids rushed Naruto and he parried their sloppy strikes away before hilt slamming one in the forehead, while punching the other in the face. The other Ars kids rushed Naruto, who smirked and ducked, sweeping their feet and making them land on the ground, knocking them out. Then he pulled the shield off that one and threw it Captain America style. It hit the Ars kid's nose and smacked him down painfully. He sliced another kid across the chest. It was a shallow cut, the fool would heal easily enough. Then he disarmed him and elbowed him in the face, knocking him out. Clarice charged, her electric spear sparking. Naruto handled it with ease, ducking and weaving around several stabs. He caught the shaft of her spear with one hand, then snapped it when he hit the spear with his sword. "You know, that was a gift from my dad," Clarice pointed out as Naruto dropped the spear. "Sorry, but you were trying to skewer with that thing just now," Naruto pointed out. "True. A few years ago, I would have been pissed beyond belief, but now, well, I think I might have outgrown the spear," Clarice said. She closed her eyes as flames appeared on the palm of her one hand and she put her in her flame-covered palm. A bronze pommel appeared in her fist and when she pulled it away, an elaborate great sword was in her hand. The grip and bronze circular pommel were rather simple, but the hilt was 3 hound heads that seemed like they were breathing metal, which formed into the blade, before the blade itself was coated in red fire. Clarice reopened her eyes and they now were colored crimson, like the color of blood. "Oh, that's new. Neat sword," Naruto complimented as he gripped his mother's coppice and channeled a Chidori through it. "Let me give you a closer look at it," Clarice roared as she brought it down on his head. Naruto blocked the giant sword, but he was not prepared for the increased strength Clarice seemed to possess. In fact, he had been so caught off guard that he almost didn't stop the sword before it cut through his shoulder. Using his super strength he forced the blade off, and then was forced to parry a swipe from Clarice that forced him back. Clarice kept coming at him, forcing him to step back with every swipe, before he locked blades and they got in each other's face. "That trick of yours, I didn't know Ars kids could do that," Naruto grunted. "I'm more special than my siblings," Clarice pointed out as they broke the lock and began swiping at each other. Now that Naruto had time to get used to her new strength, he was more ready for her, clearly showed by how he was able to parry each of her strikes and not lose any more ground. "You're doing pretty well with the sword, but how will you handle this?" Clarice demanded as she dispelled her sword and summoned a warhammer in its place. Said warhammer was all metal, from the point at the base of the hammer to the tip. But what caught Naruto's attention was the hammer was shaped like 2 hell dogs' heads with glowing red eyes. Naruto dodged to the side as the hammer came down, kicking up a cloud of dust. Naruto had to backpedal, but he was not quick enough as the hammer slammed into him and he was sent flying into the tree. He saw her dispel the hammer and coat her fist in fire, before rushing at him. Naruto didn't think he wanted to take that hit and flashed through hand scenes before muttering, lightning style, overdrive. Lightning began to arc around his body as the lightning filled his central nervous system, increasing his reaction time by nearly threefold. Naruto moved out of the way of the attack, letting her fist impact the tree, causing a fiery explosion that left the tree fairly gouged out and burned near the base, and without the base it quickly toppled over. They were about to continue their brawl, but then they heard yelling, elated screams, and saw Luke racing towards the boundary line with the red team's banner lifted high. He was flanked by a couple of Hermes guys covering his retreat, and a few Apollo kids after them, fighting off the Hephaestus kids. Everyone converged on the creek as Luke ran across into friendly territory. The blue side exploded into cheers. The red banner shimmered and turned into grey. The boar and spear were replaced with a huge caduceus, the symbol of Cabin 11. Everyone on the blue team picked Luke up and started carrying him around on their shoulders. Chiron cantered out from the woods and blew the conch horn. The game was over. They had won. Clarice sighed in disappointment as she dispelled the flames around her hand and her eyes returned to normal, while Naruto undid his jutsu and put his mother's kopis away. Too bad, I was enjoying that. Clarice voiced her frustration. No worries. We can do this again tomorrow, Naruto offered, allowing some of Clarice's disappointment to go away as she now had a sparring partner she could go all out on. Naruto was about to join the celebration when Annabeth's voice appeared next to him, say, "Not bad, hero." Naruto looked around but couldn't see her. She then reappeared with her cap in her hand and said, "Where the heck did you learn to fight like that?" It just registered to Naruto that she was invisible, with what seemed like her cap being the cause. Naruto said, "You put me here because you knew the As cabin would come after me, while you sent Luke around the flank." Annabeth shrugged. "I told you. Athena always has a plan." Naruto growled, not amused. "I'm a little disappointed you used me as bait and didn't tell me, Annabeth. I thought we were closer than that." "Look, I didn't want to use you as bait," but Annabeth started, trying to let him know that she did not want to use her crush as bait, but it was the best strategy. Then she stopped, as a howl ripped through the forest, interrupting his thoughts. The campers' cheering died instantly. Chiron shouted something in ancient Greek, which Naruto understood perfectly as, "Stand ready. My bow." Annabeth drew her sword as Naruto looked to where the howl came from. There on the rocks just above them was a black hound the size of a rhino, with lava-red eyes and fangs like daggers. It was looking straight at Naruto. Nobody moved except Annabeth, who yelled, "Naruto, run!" The blonde had tried to step in front of him, but the hound was too fast. It leaped over her, an enormous shadow with teeth, just as it was about to hit Naruto. Naruto punched the dog in the face, his super strength causing its massive body to shift sideways while in the air and fall to the ground, though its claw managed to lightly graze Naruto in the stomach. Naruto was immediately upon it as he slammed both of his fists down on the hellhound's head, dazing the creature and probably crushing its skull as Naruto grasped its jaw with both hands. The monster raged and roared, but Naruto would have none of it and used his massive strength to break the hellhound's jaw, killing it with a sickening crunch and causing it to turn to gold dust when he threw its corpse down. He ran his fingers along the slash mark on his stomach. Chiron galloped over to check on him. "Are you all right, child?" he asked gently. "I'm still alive." He nodded. "D.I. immortals," Annabeth said. "That was a hellhound from the field of punishment." They're not supposed to." "Someone summoned it," Chiron said sternly, "someone inside the camp." Luke came over, worry on his face. Naruto didn't see it, since he wasn't paying attention. Sherman Yang, who woke up from his nap, yelled, "It's all Naruto's fault. Naruto summoned it." "Be quiet, child," Chiron told the brat, obviously not believing him. "You're wounded," Annabeth told Naruto. "Quick, Naruto, you need help." "I have help," he said, waving her off, and stepped back into the creek, the whole camp gathering around him. Instantly, the wounds on his stomach were closing up. Some of the campers gasped. But they weren't looking at him, they were looking above him. Looking upwards, Naruto saw an already fading symbols above his head. Naruto could still make out the hologram of green light, spinning and gleaming. A three-tipped spear, a trident. Yet above, slightly smaller, that was a yellow grain of wheat. "Your father and, oh boy," Annabeth murmured, looking back at Naruto. "This is really not good." "About damn time," Naruto muttered silently. "It is determined," Chiron announced. All around them, campers started kneeling, even the As cabin, though they didn't look happy. "All hail, Naruto Uzumaki," Chiron said, "son of Poseidon, god of the seas, stormbreaker, earthshaker. Grandson of Demeter, goddess of the earth and agriculture." All of a sudden, Naruto started to notice a searing pain running along his arms, steam forming around his arms, and he gritted his teeth, groaning as burn scars in the shape of chains wrapped around his arms appeared on his arms. And his vision blurred, and he saw a man with ash-white skin and a red tribal tattoo covering his eye and the left side of his body. He wore ancient armor and had two prominent scars. One over his right eye, and giant scar on his stomach, which looked like a stab wound. The man gripped Naruto by his head and spoke in a deep, gruff voice. "When you are ready, you will know where to find me." Naruto passed out from whatever he did, unable to hear Annabeth, Clarice and Silna rushing toward him to help. Chapter End. Chapter 4. Naruto's Dream. Naruto awoke, but not in the infirmary of Camp Half-Blood nor his bed in the Hermes cabin like he expected. Nope, Naruto awoke to a sunny sky, his back against soft blades of green grass, the sound of a waterfall in his ear. Naruto sat up in groan, getting a clearer picture of where he was. Last he remembered his father and grandmother had claimed him, and then he saw an image of some weird white-skinned man as he gained chain-like burn scars on his arms. Looking to his arms, he saw that they were still there. Grasping his arm and running his hand along them, he muttered, "What in the hell?" He was so confused at what was going on, and he was not used to this. Standing up, he noted he was surrounded by forests and the waterfall. In the center of it all was a lake that the water from the fall dropped into. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement in the water. Curious, he moved closer, kneeling at the edge of the water. Not seeing or sensing anything at first, he saw his own reflection in the water before it began to change. The image of a man on a horse, similar to the white-skinned one he saw before he fell unconscious. Naruto heard him shout, "We must not stop. Go forth! Go forth in the name of Sparta!" Then strangely, Naruto began to hear a woman's voice in head. Once a captain in the Spartan army, Kratos had begun his command with only 50 soldiers, but soon his numbers grew to the thousands. Naruto was confused why he was hearing voices in his head, but he was curious as to who the man was, so he continued to watch as the images changed to Kratos killing enemy soldiers without mercy in brutal ways, the voice speaking again. his tactics were brutal, but effective. Drunk with power, he was feared by all. Except one, his wife was the only one to brave his fury. Naruto saw the image change to the woman he assumed was the man's wife and daughter. Kratos' wife demanded of him while holding their daughter close, "How much is enough, Kratos? When will it end?" Kratos had only one answer: when the glory of Sparta is known throughout the world. He did not even seem apologetic about his brutality and seemed to believe he was justified in his actions. Kratos' wife didn't seem to care for the answer, and Naruto could understand, as that seemed like an answer of someone trying to justify their brutal actions. The glory of Sparta. You did this for yourself. As Kratos' wife looked back at him, blood ran from her eyes. The image changed again, to show an image of Kratos with his army before everything was burning around him. His desire for conquest knew no bounds, but that which he desired would ultimately consume him. The scene in the pool changes again, showing Kratos and his army charging into battle on horseback, which told him that Kratos must have lived after the Peloponnesian War occurred, because the Spartans didn't start using cavalry in any capacity until late into that war. The beautiful voice speaking inside his head once more. The youngest and boldest captain in the Spartan army, Kratos had inspired fierce loyalty in his men. It had always been enough to carry them through any battle, until this day. The barbarians to the east numbered in the thousands, and descended on the Spartans, without mercy. The voice said, and Naruto saw as the scene shifted to show thousands of barbarians waiting to ambush Kratos and his army. This did not make sense to Naruto, because he could not recall any such gathering of barbarians from history, not to mention, those barbarians looked Germanic, so he was not sure what was happening. What he did know was that Kratos was walking into a trap, as the barbarians outnumbered the Spartan army by nearly 3-1. The barbarian leader fired an arrow at a soldier riding beside Kratos and took off his skull. The scene shifted again to show Naruto that while the Spartans, caught off guard and ambushed as they were, managed to take out many barbarians, the barbarians seemed unnaturally strong, taking out 3 Spartans for every 1 barbarian that fell. It seemed unreal, almost like the barbarians were mystically empowered or something. The battle lasted mere hours. The discipline and training of the Spartans did little to stem the tide of the merciless barbarians. Kratos' soldiers are shown battling with everything they have, but it was not enough as the bloodthirsty barbarians slaughtered them. The soldiers faced a massacre, while their young captain faced the end of his brilliant career, and his life. The voice said again. Naruto was enraptured with the story. After a few moments of the images stopping and the voice in his head not speaking, he realized that couldn't be the end and wanted to know what happened next. Surely that is not all there is. You are not young ready for the whole story in a single night, young sage. The voice was no longer in his head, but he could hear it as he would hear any normal person when talking to him. Whirling around, he saw a woman in a green dress, though a cloak that looked like the surface of the earth itself shrouded her head from sight, yet Naruto could see hints of beautiful curly black hair and a serene smile. Why, thank you for the compliments, young demigod. I haven't received such compliments for what feels like many years. She suddenly said, and Naruto remembered that they were probably in his head, so his thoughts were being broadcasted out loud. You mentioned something about not being ready, Naruto asked, a little embarrassed that thoughts he would normally keep private had been heard by this likely beautiful woman. The story of Kratos is not something that can be told in a single night, young Naruto. But do not worry, as you suspect, what little I have showed you is not the end. It is merely part of the beginning of Kratos' tale. the woman said. But what does this Kratos have to do with me? And I just realized I didn't ask for your name. Naruto said. The woman just smiled and said, why ask a question you already know the answer to? That confirmed it for Naruto, as he could now make out the beautiful face beneath the earthly shroud. A beautiful face with eyes that seemed to be permanently closed. We will speak more when next you sleep. For now, do not reveal anything about Kratos. Do not go looking for knowledge of this man, as you will not find it. You must not reveal even a hint that you know of him. If you do, I fear for your life. The woman said as everything around Naruto faded and he awoke to the real world. Gaia was indeed interested in the young man. A powerful demigod of her grandson Poseidon, related to Demeter and Kratos through his mother. And if what she has seen from his mind is any indication, from his first life to becoming Hokage to being reborn in this one, he will grow to become very powerful. Yet she was not yet sure what she wanted from him at the moment. She had tried to use Kratos long ago to enact revenge on the gods after her defeat in the first Gigantomachia, and that plan had failed miserably. For now, she would simply guide him on the inevitable path that would lead him straight to Kratos. And after that, she would see what to do with him. After all, it had been thousands of years since she had a husband to share her bed with. Her first Auranos had been her first love, but he turned cruel when her womb brought forth the Hecatonias and the elder Cyclopes. Tartarus was so apathetic and self-absorbed that he never left the pit that bore his name. Perhaps, if Naruto proved himself worthy, the third time would be the charm. After all, he was quite handsome and had this aura that just attracted followers to him. It would be little surprise to her that this more aware Naruto would have multiple lovers vying for his attention and a large group of followers. Such were the qualities of a king. Camp. The morning that Naruto awoke, he was greeted to the sight of Annabeth and Clarice bickering over something, with Silna trying to keep the peace between the two of them. Naruto groaned as he sat up, rubbing his head, as he felt like he had a headache. The girls ceased their bickering when they heard him rise from back to sit up. Naruto, they all said in concern as they moved to his side of the bed. Morning, Naruto said, allowing them to breathe a sigh of relief as he was all right. Hey, fisk cake, Clarice asked. Naruto weakly stuck his tongue out at her, not having the energy to come up with a comeback, causing her to chuckle. What do you remember before passing out? Well, before the pain started, besides having an awesome fight with War Girl, manhandling a hellhound, my grandmother and father finally getting their act together and claiming me, not much before the pain started. Naruto said as he pulled the bandages off his hands to see the chain-shaped burn scars. They just appeared out of nowhere. Silna mentioned, her soft hands tracing out the scars on his arms. I don't understand how you could have gotten these. Annabeth said, as her brain was stumped, trying to figure out how he could have gotten chain-shaped scars. Neither do I, though they do look cool. Naruto shrugged, not about to say anything about this Kratos character until he knew more. If you are able to stand Naruto, given that you have been claimed now, we must see your new living arrangements. Chiron said. Yes, I suppose we do. Naruto said as he stood up. Lead the way, Chiron. Time skip. That morning had Naruto moved to cabin 3. Naruto now had plenty of room for all his stuff. He could sit at his own dinner tables, pick his own activities, go to sleep when he wanted to, and not listen to anybody else. Naruto was isolated from most of the kids at camp, but he didn't really care, he was used to living on his own anyway. Nobody mentioned the hellhound, but he knew they were all talking about it behind his back. The attack had scared everybody and made two things clear. 1. That he was the son of the sea god, grandson of Demeter, and had super strength, making him very powerful and not somebody to mess with, and 2. Monsters would stop at nothing to kill him. They could even invade a camp that had always been considered safe. Naruto wasn't really bothered by the whole mood the camp had. Naruto still had a few people, like Katie from Demeter, Charles Beckendorf from Hephaestus, along with some of his siblings, Silna, and a few others. Thank God that Clarice and Annabeth still interacted with him regularly. The other campers steered clear from him as much as possible. Cabin 11 was too nervous to have sword class with him after what he'd done to the Ars kids and watching him manhandle the Hellhound with brute strength, so he pretty much only trained with Clarice anymore in weapons. Annabeth still taught him Greek in the mornings, but seemed distracted. After lessons, she would walk away muttering to herself, "Quest. Poseidon. Dirty rotten. Got to make a plan." And at least that following night, Gaia visited him in his dreams, showing him more about Kratos. Flashback. Naruto was inside his mindscape while his body slept. Once again, Gaia's visage stood next to him while Naruto stared into the reflecting pool, watching more of Kratos' story be told. Right now, they were picking up where they had left off the first time. But to Kratos, victory was worth any price, even his life, Gaia said as the scene showed Kratos about to be smashed to death by the barbarian. As the Barabian raised his hammer, Kratos called out for aid. "As. Destroy my enemies, and my life is yours." The scene showed the sky splitting apart and a massive shadow was cast over the battlefield and time seemed to slow to a still. Or perhaps it was all in Kratos' head. Regardless, Gaia continued to narrate. The sky split apart, and the god of war stepped through, descending from Olympus. As saw the makings of a god of earth. As would save this mortal and make him into the perfect warrior. His servant on earth. Only one a simple pledge of loyalty required of him. Naruto was able to glimpse as he was back then. Az was powerfully built with charcoal grey skin, his hair and beard were long and seemingly made of fire, his armor was painted blood red and depicted growling war hounds on it, and he gave off an aura that incited rage and hatred. Kratos moved from bowing his head and rose to his knees. "My life is yours, Az. From this day, I shall carry forth your will." Gaia continued to narrate the story for Naruto. And his fate was sealed, as promised. Az rescued his new disciple, bringing forth the power of a god, destroying those who would slaughter Kratos and his men. The scene in the pool showed the god using his powers to kill the Germanic soldiers in brutal and supernatural ways. Some erupted into flames, some had their heads explode and others were lifted into the air and snapped in half like twigs. Az then summoned several harpies to carry the blades of chaos. As for Kratos, no mere sword and shield would befit the newest servant of the god of war. The blades of chaos, forged in the foulest depths of Hades. Kratos extended his arms out, accepting his patron's gift. Once attached, the chains remained so, chained and seared to the flesh, a part of the bargain, a permanent reminder of Kratos' pledge. The chains were indeed so hot that they seared his flesh and Kratos did shout in pain. "In return, ultimate power," Gaia said. The scene showed reality resume, and Kratos used the blades to decapitate the barbarian that would have killed him. His head flew off his body, shock and confusion at what had happened, while Kratos could be seen with a sadistic look in his eyes. The rage of Az exploded from within, but soon, he would learn the true cost of such power, a cost too high, even for Kratos to pay. Naruto rubbed the scars on his arms, wondering what it meant for him now that he had these chain scars and how he was related to Kratos. "Why do you show me this man's life, Lady Gaia?" Naruto asked bluntly, having figured out who she was from their first meeting. "What do you really want with me?" It concerned him, this interest the supposed ultimate enemy of Olympus had for him. He didn't know what she wanted and that made him suspicious. "I am interested in your development, young man. I am aware of everything that happens on my surface, so when I discovered your ability to utilize nature to your advantage, you gained my interest. Even more so with Kratos appearing before you. I want to see how you turn out," Gaia admitted to him. "And after that?" he asked, turning to face her. "You'll have to wait and find out," Gaia teased, as he began to wake from his dream. There was little he could do to stop her, he didn't have the ability to block her out of his head. Naruto would simply have to prepare for the worst, in the likely case that what she wanted was nefarious in nature. Flashback end. A week would go by before Naruto had another dream. This one did not involve Gaia or Kratos. He was on a beach. 100 yards down the water, two men were fighting. They looked like wrestlers, muscular, with beards and long hair as they stood, taller than humans. Both wore flowing Greek tunics, one trimmed in blue, the other green. They grappled with each other, wrestled, kicked and headbutted, and every time they connected, lightning flashed, the sky grew darker, and the wind rose. Naruto stood there, knowing it was pointless to intervene. He knew it was a dream, but certain dreams had meaning. Naruto recognized his father, Poseidon, and realized that the other must be Zeus. Over the roar of the storm, he could hear Zeus yelling, "Give it back! Give it back!" Like a whiny child wanting his sweets. The waves got bigger, crashing into the beach, spraying him with salt water. The ground shook. Laughter came from somewhere under the earth, and a voice that was deep and evil. "Come down, little hero," the voice crooned. "Come down." The sand split beneath his feet, opening up a pit in the center of the earth. Naruto awoke, looking out the window, seeing the dark clouds outside, showing it was night. Thunder rolled across the hills as the storm was coming. There was a knock on the door of the cabin. Naruto went to answer and saw that it was Grover. "What?" he asked. "Mr. D wants to see you," he said, looking gloomy. "Why?" "He wants to kill, I mean, he just wants to talk to you." Growling, Naruto got out of bed and got dressed, gathering his weapons in case it would come down to a fight. Over the Long Island Sound, the sky looked like ink soup coming to a boil. A hazy curtain of rain was coming in the boys' direction. The storm was massive. Definitely not something that could occur naturally. At the volleyball court, the kids from Apollo's cabin were playing a morning game against the Satyrs. Dionysius twins were walking around the strawberry fields, making plants grow. Everybody was going about their usual routine, but they looked tense. They kept their eyes on the storm. The two walked up to the front porch of the big house. Dionysius sat at the pinochle table in his tiger-striped Hawaiian shirt with his Diet Coke, just as he had the first day. Chiron sat across the table in his fake wheelchair. They were playing against invisible opponents, two sets of cards hovering in the air. Well, Mr. D said without looking up. "Our little celebrity." Naruto scowled at Dionysius. He didn't like this fat, man-child of a drunk one bit. "Come closer," Mr. D said. "And don't expect me to kowtow to you, mortal, just because old Barnacle Beard is your father." A net of lightning flashed across the clouds. Thunder shook the windows of the house. Blah, 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 Dionysius said. Chiron feigned interest in his pinochle cards. Grover cowered by the railing, his hooves clopping back and forth. If I had my way, Dionysius said, I would cause your molecules to erupt in flames. We'd sweep up the ashes and be done with a lot of trouble. But Chiron seems to feel this would be against my mission at this cursed camp, to keep you little brats safe from harm. Chiron opened his mouth to say something, but Naruto beat him to it when he said, I have done nothing wrong. Unless you are so pie-eared as to believe I have committed some crime just for being born to Poseidon. But if that's the case, why don't I go and gut those two brats of yours? After all, they deserve it for being born of a god, don't they? Grover went whiter than a sheet as Dionysius glared at him. Naruto's killing intent suddenly erupted full force and slammed against Dionysius's. As this was going on, even more lightning flashed across the sky. After a moment, Dionysius rose, his killing intent fading, and the invisible player's cards dropped to the table. I'm off to the emergency meeting. If the boy is still here when I get back, I'll turn him into an Atlantic bottlenose. He warned. Dionysius picked up a playing card, twisted it, and it became a plastic rectangle. Like a credit card. He snapped his fingers. The air seemed to fold and bend around him. He became a hologram, then a wind, and then he was gone, leaving the faint smell of fresh-pressed grapes lingering behind. Naruto scoffed out loud, relaxing his tense muscles as the potential threat to his life had disappeared. Such a warm greeting from our resident god. Such a role model, he muttered sarcastically. Chiron smiled at Naruto, but he looked tired and strained. Sit, Naruto, please. And Grover. How do I know that I am not walking to my own chopping block? Naruto said distrustfully. Chiron sighed, somewhat understanding his reasons. Naruto, they are not intending to kill you. Yeah, because Dionysius gave such a good impression, Naruto said sarcastically. I understand your distrust, but this is a matter of great importance. Chiron laid his cards on the table, Naruto sitting down, hesitantly. Tell me, Chiron said. What did you make of the hellhound? It's nothing I haven't killed before, Naruto said with his arms crossed. What concerns me more is how it actually got into those woods in the first place. Chiron gave a sad smile at that. Yes, we are still trying to figure out who summoned it. But I'm afraid you'll meet worse, young man. Far worse, before you're done. Done, with what? Naruto asked, hesitant. Your quest, of course. Will you accept it? Chiron asked Naruto. You haven't told me what it is yet. Naruto pointed out. Chiron grumbled. Well, that's the difficult part, isn't it? The details. Thunder rumbled across the valley. The storm clouds had now reached the end of the beach. As far as they can see, the sky and the sea were melding together. Poseidon and Zeus, Naruto said, getting it out there so there would be no beating around the bush. They're fighting because Zeus' little nuclear glow stick was stolen. Zeus blamed my father and Poseidon is angry at Zeus for this slight. Did I miss anything? Chiron and Grover exchanged looks. Chiron sat forward in his wheelchair. How did you know that? Naruto raised an eyebrow. You mean besides the fact that Alecto demanded to know where the lightning bolt was and I tortured it out of her? I knew it, Grover said. He, like Chiron, had entered the room where Alecto and Naruto had been back on that field trip, and the scene of entering the room to find Naruto standing over a dead Alecto was suspicious, to say the least. Hush, Chiron ordered. But it's his quest. Grover exclaimed. It must be. Only the oracle can determine. Chiron stroked his beard. Zeus Master Bolt, Chiron said, getting worked up now. The symbol of his power, from which all other lightning bolts are patterned. The first weapon made by the Cyclopes for the war against the Titans, the bolt that sheared the top of Mount Etna and hurled Kronos from his throne, the Master Bolt, which packs enough power to make mortal hydrogen bombs look like firecrackers. And it's been stolen and someone's blaming me. That's just awesome, Naruto said sarcastically. At least Chiron held up a hand, that's what Zeus thinks. During the winter solstice, Zeus and Poseidon had an argument. It was the usual nonsense, Mother Rhea always liked you best, air disasters are more spectacular than sea disasters, etc. Afterward, Zeus realized that his master bolt was missing, taken from the throne room right under his nose. He immediately blamed Poseidon. Now a god cannot usurp another god's symbol of power directly, that is most forbidden by the most ancient of divine laws. But Zeus believes your father convinced a human hero or two to have taken it. Zeus has good reason to be suspicious. Here Naruto rolled his eyes, mentally disagreeing with him. The forges of the Cyclopes are under the ocean, which gives Poseidon some influence over the makers of the lightning bolt, and is now secretly having the Cyclopes build an arsenal of illegal copies, which might be used to topple Zeus from his throne. The only thing he wasn't sure about was which hero or heroes Poseidon used to steal the bolt. Now Poseidon has openly claimed you as his son. You were in New York over the winter holidays. You could have easily snuck into Olympus. Zeus believes he has found his thief. That fucking paranoid imbecile. Of course I was in New York, that's where I live, just like the other 8 million people that inhabit the city. I've never even been to Olympus before. Any idiot could see that. Naruto grumbled as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Chiron and Grover glanced nervously at the sky. The clouds didn't seem to be parting around them, as Grover had promised. They were rolling straight over the valley, sealing the area like a coffin lid. Naruto. Grover said. We don't use those words to describe the Lord of the Sky. Nonetheless, Naruto said. It is impossible that I am the thief. Like I said, I didn't know where Olympus was until Annabeth told me, nor do I know how to gain access to Olympus. And if you want to use that logic, then technically every demigod that was actually in Olympus during the holiday could be held accountable. Chiron then shook his head. While I do agree with you on your behalf, Zeus is paranoid. Then again, Poseidon has tried to unseat Zeus before. I believe it was question 38 on your final exam. Here he looked at Naruto knowingly. I'm pretty sure that was a plan concocted by Hera. My father only joined along because he was tired of being treated like crap by his little brother. Naruto pointed out. Correct, Chiron said. And Zeus has never trusted Poseidon since. Of course, Poseidon denies stealing the bolt. He took great offense at the accusation. The two have been arguing back and forth for a while. And now you have come along the proverbial last straw. Naruto Grover cut in. If you were Zeus, and you thought your brother was plotting to overthrow you, then your brother suddenly admitted he had broken the sacred oath he took after World War II, that he's fathered 2 new mortal heroes who might be used as weapons against you. Wouldn't that put a twist in your toga? Naruto snorted. Kinda hypocritical of him to say, since he had a kid several years before Poseidon did. He said. Grover looked sheepish at that. Chiron sighed. Most thinking observers would agree that thievery is not Poseidon's style. But the sea god is too proud to try to convince Zeus that. Zeus has demanded that Poseidon return the bolt by the summer solstice. Poseidon wants an apology for being called a thief on the same date, June 21st, several months from now. I hoped that diplomacy might prevail, that Hera or Demeter or Hestia would make the two brothers see sense. But your arrival has inflamed Zeus' temper. Now neither god will back down. Unless someone intervenes, there will be war. And do you know what a full-fledged war looks like? Disastrous, chaotic and destructive. That is how wars are. Naruto said. What a war between Olympians would be like, I can only guess. Imagine the world in chaos. Nature at war with itself. Olympians forced to choose sides between Zeus and Poseidon. Carnage. Millions dead. Western civilization turned into a battleground so big it makes the Trojan War look like a water balloon fight. So bad then, Naruto repeated. And you, Naruto, would be the first to feel Zeus' wrath. It started to rain. Volleyball players stopped their game and stared in stunned silence at the sky. So Zeus is punishing the whole camp because he can't find his electric toothpick, Naruto said. And I take it you think I need to be the one to get it back. What better peace offering, Chiron said, than to have the son of Poseidon return Zeus' property? If Poseidon doesn't have it, where is the thing? Asked Naruto. I believe I know. Chiron's expression turned grim. Part of a prophecy I had years ago. Well, some of the lines make sense to me. But before I can say more, you must officially take the quest. You must seek the oracle. Why can't you tell me where you think the bolt is beforehand? Naruto asked. Because if I did, I fear you would be too afraid to accept the challenge. Naruto crossed his arms. I'm no coward. If I have to get Zeus' little dildo back so war between the gods doesn't break out, I'll do it. Because if I don't, the world basically ends. You agree then? Chiron asked. Yes, he agreed. Then it's time to consult the oracle, Chiron said. Go upstairs to the attic. When you come down, assuming you're still sane, we will talk more. Upstairs. Naruto went up 4 floors that ended under a green trapdoor. Naruto pulled the cord and it swung open to reveal a ladder. The warm air above smelled like mildew and rotten wood and something else, something reptilian. The attic was filled with Greek hero junk, armor stands covered in cobwebs, once bright shields pitted with rust, old leather steamer trunks plastered with stickers saying Ithaca, Circe's Isle, and Land of the Amazons. One long table was stacked with glass jars filled with pickled things, severed hairy claws, huge yellow eyes, various other parts of monsters. A dusty mounted trophy on the wall looked like a giant snake head, but with horns and teeth. The plaque read, Hydra Head #1, Woodstick, NY, 1969. By the window, sitting on a wooden tripod stool, was the most gruesome memento of all, a mummy. There was a tie-dyed sundress on it, with lots of beaded necklaces, the hippie kind, and a headband over long black hair. She looked shriveled and dried up. Her eyes were glassy white, like marble slits. Then, a green mist poured out of the mummy's mouth, coiling over the floor in thick tendrils. The mist hissed like thousands of snakes. A voice hissed in both their heads. I am the spirit of Delphi, speaker of the prophecies of Thebes Apollo, slayer of the mighty Python. Approach, seeker, and ask. Naruto took a deep breath and asked, what am I meant to do? The mist swirled more thickly, collecting right in front of him. It took the shape of 5 people that Naruto cared about dearly. The mist took the shape of Minato, Kurama, Kushina, Demeter, and his former wife Hinata. Seeing his mother again made him want to break down and cry. Even though he grieved for her death, seeing her again brought back memories of his time together with her. It made his heart break even more. He probably would have broken down if not for the fact that he knew that the woman before him wasn't real. Minato turned towards him and spoke in the raspy voice of the oracle, "You shall go west and face the god who has turned." Kurama in a raspy voice said, "You shall find what is stolen, and see it safely returned." Demeter said in the same voice, "You shall expose the traitor masquerading as a friend." Hinata spoke next, "You will save what matters most in the end." Kushina gave the final line, "And you shall discover the truth of your relation to the dead." The figures began to dissolve and the tail of the mist retreated into the mummy's mouth. Then she returned back into her original position, leaving Naruto alone. His audience with the oracle was over. Back with Chiron. "Well?" Chiron asked them with a raised eyebrow. Naruto sat in his chair. "She said that I would retrieve what was stolen." "What did the oracle say exactly?" Chiron pressed. "This is important." "She said I would go west and face the god who has turned. That I would retrieve what was stolen and see it safely returned." "I knew it," Grover said. Chiron didn't look satisfied. "Anything else?" he asked sternly. "She also mentioned something about exposing a traitor masquerading as a friend and saving what matters most in the end." "Still not sure what that means," Naruto said. Chiron nodded, but still looked troubled. Naruto was unsure why. Chiron then spoke, "Very well. But know this, the oracle's words often have double meanings. Don't dwell on them too much. The truth is not always clear until events come to pass." "Fine," Naruto said. "So, who's the god in the west?" Think, Naruto." Chiron said. "If Zeus and Poseidon weaken each other, who stands to gain?" Naruto, after thinking for a minute, replied, "Hades. But that's way too obvious. As well as stereotypical to blame him." But think about it," Naruto. Chiron said. "He is someone who harbors a grudge, who has been unhappy with his lot since the world was divided, whose kingdom would grow powerful with the death of millions. Someone who hates his brothers for forcing him into an oath to have no more children, an oath both have broken. The Lord of the Dead is the only possibility. I still don't really buy it." Naruto shrugged. "Sure, Hades may have been sort of a dick, but that didn't automatically make him the culprit. Actually, why would Hades want to cause war if millions would die, swelling his kingdom up even more?" "A fury came after you," Naruto. Chiron said. "She watched the young man until she was sure of his identity, then tried to kill him. Furies obey only one lord, Hades." "Yes, but Hades hates all heroes," Grover protested. "Especially if he found out that Naruto was the son of Poseidon." A hellhound appeared into the forest. Chiron continued on. "Those can only be summoned from the fields of punishment, and it had to be summoned by someone from this camp. Hades must have a spy here. He must suspect Poseidon will try to use Naruto to clear his name. Hades would very much like to kill him before he could take on the quest." Naruto narrowed his eyes, "Still don't buy it. That dream with the hole in the earth. I don't know enough to say Hades is the culprit. Not yet. But a quest too." Grover swallowed. "I mean, couldn't the Master Bolt have been in some place like Maine? Maine's very nice this time of year." "Had sent a minion to steal the bolt," Chiron insisted, seeming to believe that he had hit the nail on the head. "He hid it in the underworld, knowing full well that Zeus would blame Poseidon. I don't pretend to understand the Lord of the Dead's motives perfectly, or why he chose this time to start a war, but one thing is certain. Naruto must go into the underworld, find the Master Bolt, and reveal the truth. Naruto looked towards Chiron. You've known I was his kid all along, haven't you? I had my suspicions. As I said, I have spoken to the Oracle too. Naruto just gave him a look but decided to drop the matter for now. So let me get this straight, Naruto said slowly. I'm supposed to go to the underworld to confront the Lord of the Dead. Find the most powerful weapon in the universe. And get it back to Olympus before the summer solstice, which is a few months away from now. That's about right, Chiron nodded. Naruto looked at Grover. You don't have to go, Naruto told Grover. Hell, I wasn't even gonna ask that of you. You have your license now, you can search for Pan if you want. It hadn't taken much to convince the council to give Grover his promotion. A few threats about sending them to Tartarus was enough to convince the council of fat satyrs that it was in their best interest to stay on Naruto's good side. And staying on his good side for them meant giving Grover the promotion he by this point deserved. He turned to Chiron. So where do we go? The Oracle just said go west. The entrance to the underworld is always in the west. It moves from age to age, just like Olympus. Right now, of course, it's in America. Chiron said. I figured that. I meant, where? Chiron looked surprised that he had not guessed it. I thought that would be obvious enough. The entrance to the underworld is in Los Angeles. Oh, Naruto said sarcastically. Because that's super obvious. If the location of Olympus wasn't obvious, then the entrance to the underworld wouldn't be either. Chiron at least had the decency to look sheepish. Well, probably can't travel in the air. Zeus would probably just be a dick and blast me out of the sky if I tried. He said. Overhead, lightning crackled. Thunder boomed. So we travel overland. That's right, Chiron said. 2 more companions may accompany you, boy. One has volunteered, if you will accept her help. The air shimmered around Chiron. Annabeth became visible, stuffing her Yankees cap in her back pocket. I've been waiting a long time for a quest, seaweed brain, she said to Naruto. Athena is no fan of Poseidon, but if you're going to save the world, I'm the best person to have at your side. A team of 3, Naruto said. That'll work. Now, I know who I want as the 3rd member. I know the 2 of you have problems with each other, Annabeth. Can I trust you 2 to be civil while we travel together? Annabeth was not necessarily pleased that Naruto wanted to bring Clarisse, her rival, along for the ride. But logically she understood why. Clarisse was the 2nd best fighter at camp, and having a tracker didn't make sense on this quest since they knew where they were going and what they needed to do. Her reasons for not wanting Clarisse along were for personal reasons. Excellent, Chiron said. This afternoon, we can take you as far as the bus terminal in Manhattan. After that, you are on your own. Lightning flashed. Rain poured down on the meadows that wasn't supposed to have violent weather. No time to waste, Chiron said. I think you should all get packing. Chapter end. This is the end of the movie, as the author has not rewritten more yet. Will give you updates when more comes out. Thanks for watching.